Hello. So in the third step of the refactoring of the import-export, what I'm going to do now is to start to introduce the visitor. And my idea is to do it step by step. So I'm going to show you the end of the first step, although I've run tests and compiled the code in some of the sub steps. But my idea now is just I just want to generate the same results. So generate to XML. I'm not thinking about to generate, for instance, the questions to LaTeX. Okay, just one type of generation, and so that everything works as before. I run the test and I have to see that everything is okay. So basically, what I'm going to do is just to change the structure of the code that already exists in order to have a visitor. And what I've done, basically, I declared a visitor here as an interface. I declare four methods in the three methods interface, and only for what I'm going to do now. I'm just worrying about the export of the question, so I didn't add any more methods there. Okay. So I visit the question, I visit the image, and I visit the option. And on the domain entities, I need to have the accept method. So basically, I create a domain entity interface. I have an accept method here that receives the visitor. And what I've done is for each one of them, I just visit here. Okay, so what happens now is that the image implements domain entity, question, implements domain entity, and the same for option, and the same for the question. Okay. Implements domain entity. And I have added the accept methods that basically redirect the request to the visitor. And what I've done, the last part that I've done is, so I have these questions XML export. This is my previous method, and I'm gonna rewrite it in terms of a visitor, a particular visitor, so that in the future I can have more visitors. Okay, probably what I'm gonna do next is to have a LaTeX visitor, but now let's just do it for this. And so what I've done, I declare XML question export visitor, implements our visitor interface, and I have the root element and the current element. And now what I've done is that, so I start to, when I export, so I can invoke export here, and basically I define the root element where I create the header and I put the questions there. So I already have the tests here, but as you may see, the questions is there, right? It's the first element. So I create it here, and I just set the GDOM doc, the root element as the root element. And then I say that the current element, that is the element where the other elements are going to be added as content, is going to be the root element. And then I export questions, and it's where I export the questions. So my export questions methods goes for each question that I receive as an argument there, right? Is the initial argument. And I just say to each one of them, accept. Okay? Then when I visit the question, this is the method that is that the question returns to me. So this is when it says when accept. And I do what I've done in the previous code, and I add this new element, which is question, to the current element, which was the list of questions. And then I say that now the current element starts to be this question, and I do it for the sub-elements here, okay? So for the image, I visit the image, and for each of the options, okay, I just create an options element, add it, and then for each of the options, I visit them. And then I do the same here, basically, okay? Just I add them to the current element. And to see that everything is working, oh, another thing that I've done is in the question service. Now, look, what I've done, I removed this and I added to use the visitor instead. Now I can run my test. I can run my test, which is, sorry, it should be there. Import export questions. Let's run it. And let's see what happens. Okay. If everything works okay, it means I just kept the functionality, so I have the same functionality, and I improved the code to have the visitor. Again, visitor is more complex than my code. I just applied the visitor now because I really need it. So you should always pay the price of having more complexity of your code if you benefit. Because now I want to have different types of generations, okay? Not only to XML. So the test is running. As you see, I just invoke here the export questions in the question service. And what I've done is I change the question service, the export method, to use the visitor instead of the previous code, right? So it takes a while to run, but I think it's almost there. Okay, it passed, and we can see that I'm generating what I really want. Okay, so thank you. Let's then move to the other one.